guys, we're back yet again. It has been, fix that dirty lens there. How are you guys? It's been a while since I filmed anything. We have been busy. You would have seen Max has showed you the engine building room and all of that. You've already seen that, so I won't bother with that. I've been very busy. I've just recently got this room set up again, stuck our plastic back up, because I'm about to respray, finish spraying the guards. So I'm just trying to get set up for that. Just give you a quick update on where we're up to though. So this hoopty, I finished the catch can, very similar to Max's. It came up pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it, especially once I painted it black and you can hide all the sins. The welds on it were actually pretty nice. Again, I didn't bother to film it, but yeah, obviously the best welds were right on the bottom. So yeah, that's just how it goes. Happily enough though, it is finished. That's the engine bay done. Everything's plumbed up. It is done. So pretty stoked with that. I can't actually remember where we're up to, so I'll just give you a quick run through on what I've done recently. I've got all the doors back on it now. Doors are painted. As Max pointed out, this mirror is actually different. I've got the other mirror over there, has been resprayed and is ready to go on. I've got the shifter back in, and yesterday I was playing around with a lot of wiring and shit like that to try and get it started up. Originally, when I put fluids in it, everything was cool except for this dumbass water line that goes to the heater here. Straight up just had a split in it from as soon as I put water in it. So I wasn't very stoked about that. However, that's the only fluid leak that I could find, so can't complain. It only took a couple of minutes to fix it. Then it came to wiring, trying to sort this goddamn wiring out. This key here, so that's the barrel that came out of the silo. I've bolted that back in with just some socket head bolts, and came up mint. Looks like it's meant to be there, all sweet. So when I was mucking around yesterday, I tried to start sorting out the wiring to wire in the ECU and stuff like that, and couldn't get any ignition power. Long story short, I ended up working out that some fuckhead actually, in that little loom that runs from the key down to the plug, for some reason has just cut about a 25mm section out of the ignition out. So I had accessories and I had battery, but I had no ignition. And I ended up figuring that out. So I fixed that, but I was pretty ragey about it because that's why we couldn't get the silhouette going, is because that ignition wire had been cut. So if it wasn't for that, the silhouette would have run, which really pisses me off now. So what I ended up doing, because there wasn't enough left to actually join it, what I ended up doing, because the previous owners were nice enough to butcher this little loom plug, which is the same, I ended up just taking the pin out of there because they left about that much on it, joined it, heat shrunk it, and wouldn't you know, had ignition power, everything was cool. And then I started looking into fuel pump wiring, and that became a hell of a drama. So this nightmarish mess back here, I did my head in. I went looking for shit because I was planning on just tapping into the old trigger wire. But when I started looking around, I had the multimeter and test light and stuff like that. There was positive 12 on both sides of the pumps, and it was just bullshit. I couldn't figure it out. So what I ended up doing was took these covers off, isolated the two power, the power and earth for that pump, and ended up just cutting out basically the old wiring except for the ignition power that comes into that plug there, and I just made my own wiring. So we've got battery power there off that post, which is fused. That's your power supply for the relay. Then the ignition trigger comes from that plug there, the factory plug. Then I just made my own earth for this pump. That one's already earthed. That's your outlet. Just tapped into both of those powers and just ran this trigger wire, just ran a whole new wire all the way up to the front to the ECU. And as of now, the ECU triggers the fuel pumps, cycles them on and off, primes it, does everything it's supposed to do. So I've sorted that out, so I'm happy now. Doing amongst all of that nonsense, I've just done a really very quick, just temporary wiring job here. You can see there's just shit everywhere. Just plug the ECU in, I've just done twist and tape, wires all over the joint, just to make sure that this thing runs and does what it's supposed to do. I didn't film any of this yesterday. I was just that frustrated and started mucking around. So originally went to try and fire it up, had no spark, couldn't figure out what was going on. Ended up working out that there was no crank angle signal to the ECU. So started looking at this CAS plug. Long story short, I couldn't get a crank angle. Now the way Microtech have their like wiring diagram for how the plug's set out is really stupid, to be honest. It just says, plug view. It doesn't tell you front or back. I took a guess on which way I thought it was. It was the wrong way around. So it was a pain in the ass, but deep in that plug, swapped all the wires around, plugged it back in, bang, had crank signal, started to work our way forward. Got fuel pressure, had no fuel leaks or anything like that, which is pretty, I was surprised, to be honest. It wouldn't start, couldn't see timing marks because I painted everything black because I'm a genius. Eventually, it had just tried to fire and just not quite go. I ended up, started trying to muck around in the software, and I don't know why, but I can't seem to actually save any maps or anything out of Max's car or off this ECU. But I ended up just taking screenshots of all the tables, which is actually not literally screenshots, but you can, in the software, you can download almost like a text document of the maps. Just made a couple of adjustments and it got it firing enough it was barely running. Found the timing marks, and it was just that the timing was super retarded. Pulled the old Dizzy out, chucked it back in, and pretty much this is what we have now. So that Microtech cold start is beautiful. Obviously needs a fair bit of work, but it does run. It runs. Now that took me until I think about 11 o'clock last night. I'd been going since 6 in the morning. I ended up going down to the coast to get some stuff and came back. It was such a long day, and then I was literally jumping around the shed at 11 o'clock last night. I finally got this stupid. Sounds fit. Stoked. It is running, you can't, but I can smell it. It's running very rich, which is to be expected given that these are 750 injectors and this is still running off a tune for I think it was a VL with standard injectors. So, but the thing runs. That's the important thing. I did find last night, once it warms up, it's a little bit more responsive, but obviously that opening throttle, it's really not happy about it. But it's all good. That's all I needed for now, was just to get it running. Dose for days! I'm gonna have a muck around with it later on once I sort all this other stuff out. I might have a bit of a play tonight, pull some fuel out of it and see if it gets a bit happier. But we finally have life. Finally! Oh, after all this time. And it's got no fluid leaks, there's no oil, no water, no nothing. I am really happy. So what that means for me now, after I paint, that's why I want to get these guards painted, so that by tomorrow afternoon, this whole car will pretty much be in one piece. First step will be, now that I know that it's running and everything's happy, this wiring loom's okay, I can pull this loom out, wrap it up properly, put it back in for the final time, and tie everything in and finish the engine bay. So I'm sure you can hear my voice, how excited I am, because it's finally getting towards the end of this. And I'm actually really stoked with it. I can't believe, it was a lot of mucking around just to fix that plug, but given how butchered this loom was and that it's been stuffed around with heaps, the fact that all I had to do was deep in that, and then as soon as I set the timing, I hit the key like that and it just fired up last night and sat there and idled. The fact that this loom's working as it should is just, I'm stoked. So we'll get stuck back into it. I'll be outside raging around in the machines trying to beat the rain. There's heaps of dirt to move. But that's where we're up to. I'm sorry I didn't film more of the process, but I don't really think it would have been that exciting. It was just a lot of me just yelling at this thing for frustrating the shit out of me. So, yeah, but we're getting very, very close. Very close. Okay, so the guards are ready to go. I've sort of rubbed them the best I can, get them as flat as I can, and that'll have to do. We have had a shower of rain, and it is currently raining. Temperatures dropped off a bit, so far from ideal conditions, but I'm just gonna have to deal with it and see how it goes. So these just need a prep sole now, and ready for colour. I'll mix up some paint. I totally forgot about the GoPro and left that time lapse on for like 2 fucking hours. Max is gonna be so mad at me. Anyway, that went really well. Guards came up absolutely schnook. I had a lot of trouble with the other spray gun when we did the bonnet and doors. It was a mate of ours, it's his gun. So this time I went back to using ours. Dad's one has got a slight air leak around the trigger, which is why we didn't use it. However, it is a much, much better gun. And these came up good. It was being a bit splattery, it's a bit funny, not sure what's going on there. But still very happy with the results. Came up great. Really happy. And yeah, from there, spending the rest of the night pretty much, I'm just going to leave them in there to chill overnight and they can go on tomorrow. Going to move on now to doing the loom and permanently wiring the ECU and start getting the interior back together. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're up to. I'm not going to film too much of that because it's going to be boring as shit. If I do something interesting, I'll get back to you. A bit of an update. I've pulled the loom out. And I've gone and wrapped it all. So as you can see, it looks pretty sweet. After all the bullshit with this butchered ass loom, it'll go back in the car like that and should be really nice. And it obviously works, so it should be all good. So next step is to try and get that back in. This is the boost reference line that I've run for the wastegate. That's got to go to a boost tee. I've got my Turbo Smart. It was here somewhere. There it is. So it's just an old Turbo Smart boost tee. Very basic, but it'll do the job for this setup. Problem is, it's blue and it's ugly and it's going to look shit in the engine bay. So what I'm actually going to do is run this line inside the cab with the loom, as well as the map reference line. I'm going to put the T inside the car and then run the gate reference back out, which is that bad boy there, which I've already put some really nice fire shield on. So there's just going to be those 3 lines, bloody lines everywhere here. Lines everywhere, and loom through firewall, and should be mint. The loom's all sorted out. Watch that camera stand there. Oh shit, oh no. It's right, I just accidentally dismantled it. Anyway, loom is now completely finished. So all wrapped up, all nice. Leads, everything zip tied, all our nice tying in. Runs along the firewall, down and bam, inside. So now, that is literally everything. That's the engine bay finished. Can't really think of anything else. There's literally the only thing I can think of is that there's one zip tie to go onto the boost reference line for the fuel pressure reg, which I am not putting on there because I still need to set the actual base pressure for that reg yet. So I'll leave that alone. Other than that, she came up mint. Absolutely beautiful. We've got our gate line there with our fire check on it, and honestly I've learned a lot of lessons, and building this car I've specifically routed everything as far away as I can from this silly spoolie boy here. So I've even though I put the fire check there just to be safe, but it is literally, it's so far away from the dump pipe and the manifold, it should be sweet. I have actually put in the new hydro. There it is there. I don't know if it's a little bit dark, you can barely see it, but I just wanted the lines run. Max is coming back out tomorrow, so I'm trying to get as much done that I can do by myself, and then when Max is here tomorrow he can help me do stuff. So bleeding the brakes is a big one, along with the clutch. Pretty much once those two things are sorted and I start to pull some fuel out of it and sort this tune out and get it running right, it's actually a drivable vehicle after that. So that's what I'm aiming for at the moment. Next thing is to try and sort out the wiring for the ECU more permanently inside and start putting the heater fan and stuff back in. So I'll get into that soon too. All right, we've made some progress. I'll show you in here. So this is our ECU wiring set up here. I've got ECU actually mounted. It's just screwed into the AC box because that's as far as the wiring loom would let me mount it. This wiring's pretty much sorted now, so that there's our proper connector. That's our ignition and battery power. This one here, this 4-way plug, that's going to be our sensor wiring more or less. So that's the fuel pump trigger wire, that green one that is hooked up. And ones I'm yet to sort out is just the oil pressure, oil temp, and the engine coolant temp that goes to the gauge cluster. But more or less, once that's onto there, I'll put the heater fan back in, and from there we will be able to continue with the rest of the install. I've got my shortened throttle cables all installed. It is awesome, perfect length, the measurements were spot on, it works sweet, everything's cool. And yeah, this silly thing, fuel pump prime, and there it goes. Yeah. So yeah, that's I mean, it's pretty close now. Don't worry about that tune thing, I'll sort that out soon. Well, that's gone very badly. I better find out what that was. I reckon that might have been a radiator. What even are you, Clarence? Huh. If I was to guess. If I was to guess, I'm pretty sure that just split the radiator. So how? I really don't know. Alright, I might have to do some investigationing and I'll get back to you soon. Okay, so I have to recant my previous statement about this car not having any fluid leaks. I have worked out what happened. So here we have the shroud and radiator and fan setup. Because Max put this RB25 fan on it, we did have some clearancing issues at the top with it hitting the shroud. So I've actually spaced the radiator up slightly, just to keep it away. And I'm just going to stick this bad boy on here so we can see what's going on. When I gave it that big rev then, this is all sweet at the moment, but when that fan actually pulls forward, I don't know if you can see that, it actually catches in behind the tank there. And if you can see, just up in there, in this little bit right here, there's actually a massive hole all up in there where one of those fan fins has just gone and just done a big old gouge. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the end of this radiator, and now I'm not sure what to do. I'm gonna have to try and source another one. But yeah, good idea, Max, but I think this RB25 fan can suck my fart. I've had enough of this shit. So yeah, anyway, that'll be another job for tomorrow, is sort out ye old radiator. So anyway, while that just sits there leaking all of its vital fluids out, this was the next step, was to paint this silly ass bumper. So obviously, being a track car, this thing's quite beaten up. It's fairly scarred, and it's had the cutouts for oil coolers and shit all over the place. I've done my best to clean it up. It is what it is. I'm just going to paint it and it'll be tidy enough. That's an easy enough thing. If someone in the future decided that was letting the car down, man, it's literally just a clip-on bumper. It's easy as to replace, and they can sort that out. So it will do for now. So yeah, I'm just going to paint that. It's not going to be super exciting. I don't think this episode is going to be probably super exciting, except for that fucking big hole in that radiator. Whoops. So I'll probably just sign off now. Smash like, smash subscribe. We're nearly done with this car. It's going to be like the next episode, or with this setback, possibly 2 episodes. This car should be done, and we should be on the dyno tuning it and making a hell of a lot of noise with it. So I will be back to you soon. I'm done. It's too late at night. I'm too tired. All right, I'm just going to paint the stupid bump and go to bed. All right, good night, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.